We're going to get started here with episode 31 with Captain Pat Dunn from Kansas City. We'll get into a little bit if it's going to be Kansas City, Kansas City, Missouri and stuff. So KCFD and what the relationship is there. He's already smirking and stuff. That's great. So appreciate you joining us. We're taking our mobile, so not only just remote podcasting with somebody not here, but also not in our normal studios. You can see our backdrop's a little bit different. This is coming to you from station number 8 out on the west side.
Fight Nate's,
Jelly Donut. Home to the biggest badasses on the department, or at least hazmat things. Maybe no. Anyways,
I was just hoping we'd be in one of your bunk rooms.
Yeah. Well, that could have been cozy.
Real intimate.
Yeah, really cozy. Yes, we do.
But then again, I don't want to be in any of your guys' bunk rooms.
They smell funny.
Well, I was going to say before we start things off, I think we should talk about the big.
Yes, we are going. Yes, and I was going to hit on that before we really got into it. So we are going to take a second because today was like finding out Santa Claus wasn't real for me. I've been saying my prayers and taking my vitamins since I don't even know how old.
Hold on.
Yeah, since I don't even know how old. Somebody had, watched forever. But yes, the passing of the Hulkster.
Yeah, Hulkamania.
Hulkamania is going to live forever.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's always been the thing, that Hulkamania will live forever. But passing of Hulk Hogan, we found out today. Not knowing any much details from that, you could say whatever, whether there was I've seen stuff on there, maybe a cardiac arrest. I know he wasn't, it was kind of a shock. Hulkster lived hard back in the 80s. All those wrestlers did, everybody, and even to that.
Ozzy. And the Prince of Darkness this week too.
Yeah, that's where it's like, and Ozzy was like, got to the point. I mean, he was in rough shape. I mean, his last performance, and to see that off after his last performance, and just a couple weeks after that emotional, and that last performance of Mama coming home and him singing that, and all of a sudden became so much more of a thing now to see that. But yeah, the passing of like I said, the passing of Hulkster this morning was kind of a shock, and that's just kind of thinking about that, because like I said, I can remember getting up as a kid and Saturday mornings and stuff, and hoping that the small shows, not the pay-per-views and stuff, in the Saturday morning, every now and again he would be on, because he was a champ forever, so every now and again you get to see him as a match on Saturday mornings. But otherwise it was Brooklyn Brawler and Junkyard Dog and the Bushwhackers and everybody else watching through the 80s, and then of course the Attitude Era, and then but then you got when he went to WCW, and the biggest heel turn in the history of professional wrestling when he went NWO, and then just
NWO. I liked the dark beard with the bright blonde Fu Manchu. Yeah, I liked that look.
But
I really did.
Say what you will about his wrestling skills. He had the big boot and the leg drop, but he made professional wrestling what it is, and it wouldn't be here without. So, moment of silence for the Hulkster.
Talking about no-sell Hogan.
But come on, it's because he's hulking up, man. You can't. He's got to hulk up. He's got to do it. So, anyways, okay. So going on.
Lighten the mood here.
Yes. All right. So we're gonna get on with Captain Dunn from the West Side, Station 8 here. First off, to my left now today, usually sitting on my right side, but my left side is the Superman himself. Great in stature but small in personality, Mr. Devin Shipper, as always. And then behind the scenes, putting it together, making sure the remote stream runs good. We had a technical difficulty. We got squared away. I hope our internet stream stays good. But Mr. Baker behind there, and thank you for your service, Mr. Moorhead. Hoping he comes back safe. And one of these days, like I said, we're going to have to remote Ben in.
Yeah.
We just got to make sure we're on I don't know what time we have to do a podcast then, to get him in for.
I think it's 7 hours.
7 hours
ahead.
Okay. To try and figure out what time to get him in. But it'd be nice to have Ben in on one of these sometime. So, Mr. Captain Pat Dunn. Let's start from the top, and we roll through it and see where it gets us, right? So kind of tell us a little bit of, what's your vibe, what's your story, where you're from, and kind of where'd you grow up?
Well, so I grew up in Aurelia, Iowa. I don't know if any of you guys were aware of that.
No.
But,
No. Not at all.
Actually, one of your former firefighters was also from Aurelia as well, Danny Cole.
Yep.
And so I grew up there, knew Danny growing up. My dad was fire chief in Aurelia and kind of set me down this pathway. And he really, at one point, when he realized that this is what I wanted to do for a job, he said, you know, I embrace it, but you're not going to be a dumb fireman like me. So he goes, you're not going to have the challenges that I had to fight. So you're going to go to, you got to go to college. So then the search was on for colleges, and that was in 97, I guess, when I graduated high school, and we were looking around and there weren't many schools with a fire science degree. There were only two, and they were engineering degrees, University of Maryland and Oklahoma State University.
Wow.
And the only reason we knew from that was the little bit of research we could do on the internet and a little bit of calling. There was also another one down in Texas and Eastern Kentucky that I didn't really find out about till later. So Alan Brunacini went to Oklahoma State, so I went down there to visit, and they said, if you want to be a fireman, this isn't the place for you.
Oh, good to know. Thank you.
Okay.
And I kind of took that with a grain of salt and said, well, where the hell is? I mean, you know, there just wasn't much out there. So I decided that's where I was going, and went down there and really kind of ran the place. And the 7 years that I was down there at Oklahoma State, I really kind of embraced it, and we really started developing firefighters that 7-year time frame, maybe a year before I got there. Probably one of the largest infusions of fire service personnel in recent history came out of that program. A lot of people go into nuclear or petrochemical out of that program, that degree, but really there's a lot of us that are just kind of coming up.
Oh, sorry. That's going to be like we had the radios turned off, except for if the calls for our station and stuff. So,
Okay.
Hey, they're getting some work.
That's right.
yeah, that's good for them.
Party, 4201 Fieldcrest Drive, Westwood Care Center. Care Center.
All
All
right.
right. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
So I went down to Oklahoma State and did the military thing as well, because I knew not only did I know I need probably some military points for the competitiveness of the fire service at that point. I did it because I needed to pay for college, and you know, from my dad, my family, we always have that service background. So I joined the Oklahoma Air National Guard, and I was an F-16 crew chief in there, and wow. Things just kind of went from there. That really kind of helped seal the deal on some of my other things in life, my mechanical background, that aptitude. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah, that's kind of what happened. 7 years on a degree, you know, that's kind of a doctor.
I was going to say, yeah, the information here says captain. It does not say doctor or lawyer or brain surgeon. So like,
I firmly believe if I wanted to do those things, I could, but instead I chose to ride the rig. So I got my bachelor's degree there. I had to take a year off for basic training, tech school, which was about a year. And then I came back to college, finished up, since it was essentially an engineering degree. Most of those are a 5-year degree nowadays. And then I had GI Bill. I was waiting on my wife to finish her degree. So it's like, let's try this master's degree. So I started my master's degree there at Oklahoma State as well. And I got hired up here in Kansas City right before I finished. And
so you met a missus in that amount of time too, huh?
Yeah, but you know, so in the fire service, you marry teachers or nurses. I wanted to be poor forever, so I went with a teacher.
Perfect. Hey.
You know, they say marry for love your first one, marry for money your second. She just realized that I'm the greatest thing that ever happened to her family, so she's sticking with me.
Yeah.
Why get half a pension when you can get a whole?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of up to how I got here.
Yeah.
And then it was time to leave. I was the old guy at college, so I had to find a job.
Well, yeah, because it was 7 years. Right.
Yeah, you didn't want to be
Start feeling
Van
like
Wilder.
Van Wilder, yeah.
Live in college when you're 24 years old and
Yeah.
in the
Well,
freshman.
everybody, yeah, but all the freshmen are coming and be like, hey, that guy will buy us beer. You know?
It's college. Anybody will buy you beer.
Yeah.
That's true.
You
Yeah,
just need
that's
a good
true.
fake ID.
Yeah. There you go. So you started. So let's go. So you ended up in Kansas City as far as on a department. Did you test multiple places? I mean, was there a place where you're like, because being from Aurelia, was there any desire to come back to Iowa, come back up here? Was it like, I mean, that just has to be where you landed? I mean, what was your aspects as far as looking for an actual job in the fire service once you started looking for one?
So
I guess, and when you were at college, were you looking for them too, or was it like you were finishing your degree altogether first, and then you were going to find a job
So I really didn't start testing till I started working on my master's degree because that could be done from anywhere. I really kind of felt like, like anybody, we're the biggest badass in the world, and I'm going to a million-plus city. That's where I'm going to. So I was testing. I tested Boston. I tested San Diego. I tested Houston, San Antonio, not knowing systems. And Boston, every resident of the state of Massachusetts or everybody with a Massachusetts EMT license in an absolute preference system got put on the list above me.
Yeah.
So even though I was scoring crazy numbers, I got beat out there. San Diego, I got into tier 1 placement. And one day they called and said, hey, we're just interviewing guys within a 50-mile radius. Thanks for your money. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, awesome.
Houston, I was number 4 on Houston's list and couldn't pass polygraph. Failed Houston's polygraph 2 times. I had a conditional offer for San Antonio as well, and I passed their polygraph the very next day. So
no flaw in that system there, is there?
No.
Now, the processes are, everybody knows the system. So, in my mind, I was going to a million-plus city. The day that the Houston San Antonio thing that was a really quick time frame of what was going on. Ultimately, the San Antonio deal, I'd stolen cable TV in college. So it was too recent to go. So I had to wait. I think they said 6 months or 12 months. So
because you sliced into somebody's cable kind of thing, and
I went out and they in the old days they had those filters in. I pulled that filter out and plugged it in, and I'm applying for a job. I failed the Houston test. I'm admitting to every pen and pencil that I might have stolen in my life.
Yeah,
right.
And then it was just the dollar amount was so much that I had to wait a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I literally went out to my trash can and pulled the stuff from Kansas City, Kansas out that I really only applied for because I knew one guy up here and he's like, oh, you should really come up here. We fight a lot of fire. So I pulled it out of the trash, drove up there because that day was the, I think that was the written test, or maybe it was the psych. Maybe I already had a conditional offer and it was the psych test or whatever. And then on the way home, I was driving down I-35 back to Oklahoma, and my mom called and said, hey, I have breast cancer.
Oh.
And it was, I never intended to be within 8 or 12 hours of Iowa. And now all of a sudden, all these things happening, this is where I ended up.
Yeah.
As anything, you think you have a plan, and as soon as you see your plan, it's probably going to change.
Well, sometimes somebody's got a plan that's set for you and stuff. You just, one way or another, you get a course correction. You get put to where you're supposed to be.
I wholeheartedly believe that I ended up where I was supposed to end up.
Mm-hmm.
So they called me on St. Patrick's Day and offered me the job, and I started a month later. I actually got another job offer that next day for Overland Park, which was down south.
Yeah.
Yep.
I chose the poorest fire department and county in Kansas instead of the richest fire county. But
well, you must have wanted to go to fires and stuff then, huh?
You said it, not me.
There we go. There we go. You go where the work's at. Yeah. That's good to hear.
Great guys. It's a different atmosphere.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. You know, when you
So,
look at it. So what year was that?
2004, May 5th of '04.
Oh, four.
Wow.
May 6th of '04. So
Okay.
21 years ago.
Yeah.
And I got hired with 72 people. We took over the EMS transport system.
Oh, what a good year to be getting on, huh?
So it was a lot. Got
That's a
hired with
lot.
72 people on a department that, at that time we were probably around 350 people. So fresh infusion, whole lot of new young kids. A lot of them had absolutely no experience. So it was tough, and they shoved us out on the streets in 7 weeks.
Wow.
So is it like just an academy, like a Monday through Friday academy kind of thing, or what do they run down there?
It was, and trying to teach Fire 1-ish for those guys that had no experience and had never run a medical call, had never drove anything bigger than a car. So it was tough, and we survived. And really, of how the other crews could have treated us, they really treated us pretty good as being members of the department, because
that's huge.
Because we took it on wholeheartedly, and you fought more fire off the downtown ambulances than you would off the rigs, because there were only 2 downtown ambulances, and we were pulling an ambulance on every fire, not as EMS standby, as attached to the crews.
Oh.
And really, I'd explain it to my buddies. It was the wild, wild west.
That is Wild West stuff.
You could come in and just, you weren't tagged to anybody. There was no accountability.
Man, what an awesome time.
It was just get it. Go get it, kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we really kind of lived by that. Some guys flourished in that environment. Other people maybe didn't like that and would go out west. Every city has their outlying stations, and some of those guys have been out there 21 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Where some of us got some crazy stuff early on.
What's that look like then when you're on probation? Then you're riding the box full time. Is that how that's going then?
Yeah, early on they only hired enough to really ride the ambulances. So some days you'd be on a rig, but you weren't really accountable to anybody. It was crazy.
That is crazy.
As a captain today, that's not at all how I run it. I have an ambulance assigned to my station. That guy's my guy. He reports to me, not to an EMS supervisor or anybody. Even though there's an EMS supervisor, they clearly know they work for me. That guy's a supervisor of things, not people.
Sure.
So it's just different.
So are your EMS, or I guess your ambulance personnel and stuff, is everybody cross-trained there, or do you have single role EMS?
No,
people?
we don't. We have no single role. Okay. Everybody's a combatant.
Your ambulance crew on the fire ground then, or ambulance, so like you said, so is it still the same way then, whereas the ambulance shows up, it's not med standby? Those are firefighters that can.
Correct.
Wow, okay.
So we now send 2 medic units per fire. My first due medic unit, because we're always running short. Most of our pumpers are 3-man every day, and now we did a budget deal the other day, a year ago now, and they allowed some of our trucks back down to 3-man. So we need the people. My territory, there's times that we're going to be, I don't know, blown by ourselves for maybe 5 minutes.
Wow.
So that first due rig, my ambulance, depending what kind of experience they have, I'm either going to pick them up at the door, or if it's a little bit more senior guy, hey, bring my second line and get in my back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
It really depends of what we got and who I have.
So going back just a little bit to the Aurelia days, did you do anything with the volunteer department there under your dad or anything like that?
No, because I didn't turn 18 till January, and I graduated, and I got out of Dodge.
Got out. Yeah.
So I was always there, I grew up in the fire department, and dad was pretty tied in
Yeah.
to everything.
So
I
between-
mean, I participated in stuff. I don't remember how many live burns I watched him burn buildings down, and if they'd have a call in town, I'd probably end up on my bicycle there. But
Oh yeah. Yep.
So between you and Paul, do you have any other members of your family in the fire service?
I have a cousin that's in the fire service, but my brother does traffic signals here in town. Actually, when he got out of the Coast Guard, he moved down here, and he lives about a mile from me.
Oh wow.
Huh.
But
So-
then my dad's brother-in-law was chief of Cherokee.
Okay. Wow.
It's a little bit tight. So let's go, and because we'll get into the operational stuff in Kansas City, because I'm curious and stuff. I always am with departments that are bigger, just how everybody operates and stuff. But let's roll back a little bit, because you talk about the enlisting in the Air Guard, right? Did I miss that?
Yep.
And being a crew chief F-16s and stuff. So from that, though, because like Baker, you know, a lot of the guys that come on the department, and even the guys we interview here, we have contacts because they're airport firefighters and stuff through the Air Guard and everything. So was that, I mean, you know, you talked about your aptitude or whatever, your mechanical aptitude and stuff, but I mean, did that tie that you wanted more mechanically fix things versus, I mean, was the airport firefighting ever a thing, you know, an idea through there when you enlisted?
So it was when I was 17. I had enlisted in active duty. I was going to do active duty first and then go to college. And my uncorrected vision was too bad to be a firefighter.
No way.
Wow.
So I was not allowed to be a firefighter in the Air Force, and they wouldn't accept corrected vision at that point through LASIK. So they tried getting me to go be a paramedic, whatever, and I said, I'm going to go to college and I'll join the Guard.
Yeah.
And my recruiter was a Thunderbird crew chief.
Oh, cool.
In his previous, so I kind of knew about it, and Sioux City was an F-16 unit when I was growing up. So, and I'd been a mechanic at a tire shop, things like that growing up, and Dad doing heating and cooling. I kind of fulfilled that other desire and drive that I have.
Yeah.
Did you do just a 6-year term, or how long were you in?
Around 9 years. I enlisted I went to basic the summer of 98. And when I got hired up here, I stayed in my Tulsa unit for about a year, but it was a pain driving, 4 hours down there. So I transferred to Topeka, which is a tanker base. And from going to race cars to gas trucks, the culture was not what
Yeah.
I was looking for on flight line ops.
Yep.
So my daughter was being born, my first daughter, and they were going through an engine modification, so they were going to be non-deployable for 2 years, and it's like, peace out, I'm done. I got passed over on a commission to let's see, somebody that was promised not because of their qualifications.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I said, I don't need it. I did 9, right at 9 years when I got out.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to and you did say Kansas City, Missouri, right? Did I miss it? Yeah. So yeah, kind of talk about, because you see internet memes. I've seen some stuff on talking about Kansas City, Kansas versus Kansas City, Missouri.
All used to be the same fire coverage at one time, wasn't it?
So it's pretty confusing, right? I mean,
A little bit.
that'd kind of be like South Sioux City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knew there's a South Sioux City?
Right. Or North Sioux City.
There's actually a North Kansas City. There's a Kansas City and a Kansas City, Kansas.
Yeah.
So Casey Moe is the older one. They're the big brother. They're about double us. So they're about 1,000 personnel, 30 some stations. We are right at 500 personnel out of 18 stations. 3 battalions for us, and North Kansas City, I think, has 2 stations maybe.
Okay. So is everybody like under KCFD, or like what's your, I guess, designation? Because like
No,
South Sioux
so-
City is still South Sioux City, SCCF.
So we are
and we're SCFR, and
we are KCK, and
Okay.
they're KCMO.
KC. Okay.
So
Yeah.
typically our station KCKFD and they're KCFD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any like crossing the border to like in response districts or anything? Or I mean, is there a pretty strict state line kind of thing?
Yeah, so there's a state line, but we do run mutual aid back and forth. We probably play the nicest with them versus if we play with Johnson County. There's not a lot of cross-border stuff to the south to Johnson County, but KCMO, they're pretty similar in everything, especially for special ops. We operate pretty seamlessly on special ops with them. We train with them all the time. So, maybe some of us that are in the special ops division have a little bit different viewpoint, but
Yeah.
I have quite a bit of interaction with the KCMO rescues.
There.
Okay.
So like you said, about 500 personnel, 18 stations. What kind of call volume you guys running?
So we have one station that runs maybe half a call a day.
Half a call?
And we have other stations that are running 10 to 12. I think city-wise, we're probably in the realm of 35,000 to 40,000
Wow.
runs.
Yeah.
But it's hit or miss, like anywhere. You have
sure.
sleeper stations. You have your medium ones that maybe have better acuity calls, but aren't running all night long on BS.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the crews that you're running all the psychs, but to run the psychs, you got to run the house. You get to run the house fires too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a trade-off. Probably 50% of those calls are run by 5 different stations, and the other 50% are run by the other 10.
Right. Everybody else. Yeah.
So
Right.
it's divided into 3 battalions, and almost all of the call volumes out of our downtown battalion.
Sure.
Okay. So out of the 18 stations and stuff, is there a lot of double companies and stuff? Like how many truck companies do you dedicated rescue companies? I mean, what do you guys run as far as equipment or apparatus out there?
So about 50% of the houses are double houses.
Okay.
We have 2 dedicated rescues that are fully staffed, rescues, heavy rescues, whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're on both sides of town. Town's a little bit longer than it is wide. So we have a West End rescue and a downtown rescue. And then my station's kind of in the middle to the north is a feeder for special ops as well. Downtown station is double house with a pumper. So they can fully operate in-house. 6 is out west is a single house, and they cross staff a tower quint thing on paper. I mean, they take the rescue on everything. So we'll tag in with them a little bit more often if it's something higher level, or if it's water, then we all go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
picking up on, sorry. I was going to say, picking up on something little there. You guys are big on calling them pumpers down there, correct? As opposed to engines?
correct. That is that's the official name that they've been given by God.
Okay. So, yeah. Well, then, yeah, I guess. You guys, do you guys run on your truck companies then? Are they just a straight truck, or do you guys have trucks like Quince? Like you said, you have the one, that's kind of a Quint. Do all your trucks have pumps on them, or are they just straight truck with like a
back to
waterway?
reality. About 10 years ago,
Back to reality.
we saw the light, and trucks without pumps are what the world intended. So we are going back to that. Truck work is truck work. We have 2 quints that are remaining. And so it's just some carryover.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's way out west on a brand new station that we opened. and hopefully we can figure out a way someday to get a pumper in there and make that a double house. And I think another one will probably be phased out as it becomes a double house, and maybe we merge an engine with it.
Yeah.
But they're on the outs.
Yeah. There's a time and place for those. There's some departments that, smaller departments or volunteer departments, so you can only afford one thing. So it's like, why not get one thing that does two things? And, there is a time and place for it. But when you have a big enough department stuff where you have manpower and staffing and equipment available, a truck is a truck and an engine's an engine. And plus, like that talks about, that's manpower. That was always the thing here where quint around here was always a bad word. Because that was the idea, take a quint, and then it's like, oh, well, we can get rid of a company now because this does both things. And, and it's like, no. We want manpower, we want equipment. We don't want to combine things. It's not feasible. Not for bigger cities.
It can do both, just not well.
Yeah.
Exactly. A Swiss Army can do a lot of things, but nobody carries a Swiss Army knife. Because when I want a screwdriver, I want a screwdriver.
Absolutely.
Or the first tool off your rig's never going to be that combi tool.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's just
it's there.
It's not what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
exactly. Did you guys your trucks? You got any TDAs in your department?
One's on order. So in about
there we
6 years, when it comes in,
tractor drawn aerial. Ryan's a
TDA. He's a little bit
pumper guy. So
yeah. He's a little slow in the uptake. Yeah.
The tiller time.
So we have a tiller that's on order, and it hopefully will be at FRI in Kansas City in 2027.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I was gonna say. So where are you getting that one from?
Let's see, Sutphen. No, not Sutphen. All of our rigs are Pierce.
Okay.
And we just switched. So we're getting our last round of Pierces. We have 2 pumpers and a truck that were just delivered. And who did Smeal get bought by?
Oh, man.
I don't know, because we had Smeal forever.
Yeah, we had Smeal forever,
now
too.
And then we went with
with
Rosenbauer's.
They make them up in Nebraska or South Dakota.
Oh, why don't we know this? We do know this. Now I can't think of it.
It's a pretty recent thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Smeal's in my head.
Another big brand. I'll think of it at some point.
Baker's getting on it. Yeah, so how long did it take to get that Pierce aerial, that Pierce truck? How many years did that take on there?
I think all the Pierce stuff's at 4 years.
Yeah.
So, these have just been orders that have been coming in. We've been buying about 2 pumpers in a truck for the last 8 or 9 years. Our fleet was crap. Well, like everybody, we had a lot of good rigs, but we kept blowing head gaskets and shelling out pumps. We were buying for a while, and we got away from pucks. We were spending $1 million on a pumper, so we streamlined them down, cut them back, and now we have little race car trucks that are going great, but race car pumpers. And,
Spartan. That sounds right.
Spartan.
So Spartan used to do all the cabs for Smeal, but they ended up buying Smeal for the rigs itself and the chassis. And
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm excited about these new rigs. Our Pierces are great. They're hot rods. We streamed them down and really made them what we wanted. But we had some big Pierces, those pucks, and we called them 747s because they were as big as a 747, and they cost a lot of money. And we were having some issues with them. And for how we run, it just wasn't what we needed.
No.
Sure.
What do you guys run for a shift schedule?
24/48.
Okay, same as us. Yeah, nice. So
I don't see that switching for us. A lot of the smaller departments are running that Berkeley, whatever, but KCK, KC Mo are 24/48s.
Any chatter with 4896?
No, just that would be an awful life on an ambulance.
I wholeheartedly agree.
And at least, so we're in town, so commuting, our traffic isn't bad on this side. We have a residency restriction, so we're all in the county here. So nobody's farther than 20 minutes away. So it wouldn't be a huge deal of being gone probably for 48 hours at a time. But I just think back when my kids were small.
Yes.
I just don't know how it would work. And
Yeah.
I mean, on a busy station running all night long, I think it'd be even worse.
Yeah.
Seems like another big drawback of that. I don't know if you guys do a lot of shift trades, but you're trading into a 72 or a 96.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do a ton of shift trading.
Yeah.
Guys were all pretty gung-ho on the idea of the 4896, but like you said, with the young kids, I just got done doing a 48 and I'm downtown. If I don't have to do them anymore, I don't want to.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm missing out on half my kids' life.
Yeah.
Let's do 2472.
How about that?
Well,
Let's go to St. Louis, Houston schedule.
Yeah.
You don't pay Kelly days anymore. You don't pay that.
Nope.
You don't have as many vacation days. It's not it's not as big of a cost. The cities can't typically give us any more money, so
right.
let's
time off
let's
and
go
stuff.
forego a raise for 3 years and we go to another shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's infinite schedules, schedule models out there and stuff. We were just talking because there's a few departments in Iowa, and I know a lot of them, when they change over then that 4896, and they're just like, they get it and they're like, yeah, we love it. But I don't know. Like I said, that 48 hours away from home, it's, the 2448, once you get into that, I mean, to me, it's, you trade a day, you got 5 off. Otherwise, you still got 2 days off. You got a recovery day if you get beat up on one night, and then you still have your second day off. You do that 48, it doesn't matter if you work a trade or the overtime shift and stuff. You're not at home.
What I'm doing right now.
Yeah,
I'm
you're just
like,
you get home and you're smoked, and then if you pick up an overtime shift, then you have the 24 hours to try and recover and come back before you come back to work, but you're tired and stuff. And when you got young kids or you have stuff that you have to do on your off day, you're just like, you just get to the point where you're zombie all the time just because you're tired, and maybe I like the idea of the extra day off. The 2472 would be, I bet you could put some studies together and information and stuff and just show the benefits of that extra day off just for rest and recovery and stuff, especially mental health things. And now when you look at health effects of not enough sleep with what it does to your cardiac health and sleep apnea and all those other health effects that it affects you and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. I could see the benefit in that versus the just, but the 4896, I'm not super keen on it either, but some people like it.
I don't think my bride would be happy with that shift.
I know mine wouldn't. So.
No. So what was I getting? Oh, schedule. Yeah. So you guys trade time and stuff. So that's cool. So battalion wise, 3 battalions. So what's what's the composition on the rig look like? You guys have captains, lieutenants, assistant chiefs, battalion chiefs. What's your structure look like that way?
So firefighter, driver, captain is the ranks on a rig.
Okay.
So every rig on every shift has a captain. So there is no house captain. Captains are only officer position. Then battalion chief, assistant chief, deputy chief, fire chief.
Okay.
So, are your drivers is it a FTO or FEO position? Is it a tested position for you guys?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's transitioned through our contract of how that's done. It was purely merit-based through written and driving. And then we changed some things and it went seniority-based on it without a bypass. Now, this latest contract, if you get credentialed as a driver, so if you get your driver certification, you get on the list, then you're made seniority-wise, but you can do a jump over at 12 years and test for captain. Because it's probably around 16 years to make driver now under that system.
Wow.
16 years on the job?
Yeah, probably. Because there's a class of 72 people that was hired
that are
from my class that's filling all those promotions.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Getting the stalemate.
Fortunately, I made it under the old system, so I was able to test. I made driver at 7.5 years.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then captain right at 9. So
nice. Oh, so you've been captain. You've been there for officer a long time then, for most of you.
Yeah, so I've been a captain
over half your career.
12 years.
Well,
I think I got about 2 more months, and I'm next on the list. So this was the first chief's test I took finally. So
Oh,
well.
for bat chief then, or yeah. So with those drivers being a test position, then I guess is that so like if a driver takes a vacation day or the officer, do you guys shift and move up, or do they transfer in another, or do they bring like an attached officer in? Do you have to have a driver to fill that driver position? Because the guy on the back move up?
no, so we don't have any extras. So we don't overhire. There's not an unassigned driver or captain out there.
Mm-hmm.
We only have enough promotions for those. So that helps us keep everything in house. Typically, especially your busy houses where everybody's assigned. So my driver will bump up, or actually, a lot of times they're like, I don't want the $12, and they'll have my senior fireman bump up.
Move up.
So normally he'll ride the seat for me, and my driver stays my driver, which actually is my driver's Cassie. She's got 28 years. She retires in November.
Wow.
She doesn't want to work for anybody else but me.
Yeah.
And she's punching out, and she is the biggest badass female out there.
How long has she been driving then?
She has been a driver 12, 15 years, maybe.
That's some good time on
Yeah.
the wheel.
She has no desire to be in charge. She'll
And that's awesome.
like if Nick's not there, if my senior fireman isn't there, she'll ride the seat, no problem. Just to do all the Emperor's reports that we're going to do in a day.
Yeah.
$12. I mean, she just gets the difference between her pay and my pay, which isn't much at her rank. So she's like, screw that.
Yeah. I'll just ride where I'm at and be happy.
That's got to give you good comfort as a captain too, knowing that's what you got sitting next to you and taking care of that end of things. That's pretty awesome.
Her abilities are stellar.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
She's drove out of 18s now, probably 12 years. So she knows the territory better than me. I've been at 18s now 7.
So how many floaters or unattached firefighters do you have per shift to fill in when somebody's gone?
So typically that's our newest guys. So our shift is probably around 130 people per day, and
Our whole department.
our minimum staffing is 105 then. So there's probably 20 new guys, like either a year or two, that are unassigned, and we can or swap.
Yeah.
Biggest challenge right now is a lot of guys aren't extra driving in some stations. So the guys that are extra driving, I see we can.
Yeah. What was I? I'm now forgetting what I was going to say. Staffing.
I'll hop in. So how
Yeah.
long do those guys
That
do
was
that
my-
before they actually get an assignment to a house?
It varies.
Now I got it.
Right now, our newest guys are typically tagged to a house. So like I just picked up a brand new guy the other day. So normally at 1 year, they're now assigned somewhere. But so I got a guy because he was the best in the class that I was able to pick up.
How'd that
sometimes
work?
there's-
Who'd you make a call to there, Cap?
Sometimes you live life right. But sometimes if nobody really knows them, if things just don't work out, they just get assigned somewhere and they never actually work there because that's a 3-man rig out west that's slow, and they're on an ambulance. Their first 3 years, they're on the ambulance 70% of the time. So they might have a captain, but they don't really work there very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your guys, so that was, so like you said, the new guys, so after a year, they're assigned to a house. I mean, so they could essentially, depending on what happens, transfers, whatever, they could spend their whole career in one firehouse the whole time then, yeah?
Yeah, they could.
Yeah. Do you then, if you have extra personnel, like you have minimum staffing, 3 on the engines, 3 on the trucks and stuff, do you throw, like if you have full staffing for the shift, then do you throw fourth firefighters on everything then, yeah?
Yeah. So I think on the roster last shift, we were slated to ride 4, but then our chief called up. So I'm in the battalion car tomorrow. So my guys, everybody will bump up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So kind of, you know, we don't, our drivers isn't a tested position, but you kind of operate the same way as us, where everybody knows everybody's job and everybody can, you know, move up and stuff when, you know, somebody gets moved or whatever. So that's kind of cool. You know, I think it makes, you know, makes you more well-rounded, you know, unit and stuff. It's, everybody knows everything, especially like if your officers come up through the ranks. You know, so, you know, I rode at the back for a long time. I drove for like 9 years before I moved into the, you know, lieutenants, which we have lieutenants and stuff. So we have one captain for the 3 shifts. So one shift's a captain, the other 2 are lieutenants and stuff. So then we do have a house captain that, you know, is in charge of the house and stuff.
I wish we would go to that system. It would probably help a little bit with some of the in-station drama.
Because like now, like all 3 shifts, all 3 officers get together, and then you have to like vote and try to figure out, like, if you want to set something up on your rig, like it's your rig for that shift, but it's not your rig to be like, this is where this piece of equipment goes already. Right? Or this is where this goes, or this is how we're setting things up. You got 2 other officers that are the same rank that you gotta, you know, there is no like, no, I'm the boss. This is how we're gonna do it because, you know, this is how I want it.
Well, I guess if you don't agree with me, you don't want to work after me.
Yeah.
There's been, I'm not hard to get along with, but I'm going to do things how I'm going to do them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to work to get the policy changed.
Yeah.
And I've had some success at winning.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's your rig. You run it how you want. There's a lot of autonomy for our captains. And for the most part, if you're at a station that does a lot of work, you're going to be able to convince those other guys if it's right or wrong. I mean, then there's little things, you know, the ship that follows me, they like a fog nozzle on their deck gun for some reason. So every day, either second shift doesn't like that, we don't like it. So we swap it out. No big deal. For a while, before we were getting shoulder loads implemented, we were running triple loads. I built a box, and we had our own hose. We'd swap our boxes every day.
Wow.
And we just repackage hose.
Yeah.
And I'd leave it that way. And if they wanted it different, next shift would have to change it.
Yeah.
And eventually I won, and we run shoulder loads, modified Minuteman, whatever you want to call it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah, but like you said, that's where having that house captain on a double house, but having a captain on a rig that can, you know, help with that. Of course, you're going to work with the officers and the crews and stuff, but at least there's like a person that has the final, like, nah, we're going to do it this way because, you know, this is going to be the best way for the crew. But, you know, and not so much just the rig, but it's just policies within the house as far as, you know, and I mean, if there's, I don't know, at least there's somebody that, you know, when push comes to shove or somebody's foot needs to get put down, there's, you know, somebody there that can do that and
so
set
yeah,
things and set
I love
course,
that right
you know?
now as a senior officer. As a young officer, I would have hated that.
Yeah,
Because it would have just been a choke point of progression for us as a department, and we've come a long ways in the last 15 years.
Yeah, and I will say like Sioux City has also, because because it's guys like you. I got hired in 02. You know, so you know, it's guys like you, guys like me that came on, that were on a department that had a lot of old school guys and old school mentality and stuff, and then we came up through that system, and like you said, if the old guy was in charge of stuff and you're a young officer, a young firefighter, you hate that because you're like, well, why can't we do this? You know, it doesn't work this way anymore. It works this way. So now, as we are in the positions that we're in charge as officers and command, then we know what it used to be like and how we wanted to change things and make things better. And we're more receptive to hearing ideas and implementing things and working together instead of just saying, nope. We're going to be like, you know what? Okay, let's take a look at this. Let's try that. If it doesn't work, we're going back to this way. But yeah, you know, we're more open to ideas, which is, and that's why you're seeing that cultural shift and that cultural change, you know, within the fire service, I think, you know.
And really that older mentality of, nope, it's my way or the highway just isn't working in anything today, but especially with our newer guys that we're hiring.
Yeah.
You know, and part of when I'm teaching, the whole transition of how I teach is not do this, do that. It's I go into greater depth. I really get into the details and into the weeds so they can understand, because I don't
Yep.
want to just build kids that are like a cow in a salt lick. This is just what we
Yeah.
do.
Right.
And they don't know why. They can't
Yep.
articulate how their stuff works or any of it.
Yeah.
So you can't progress.
No, and that's good, and like I said, that's because we saw that shift, we saw, you know, in the culture and everything, and we're part of it now, and it's instilling that and making it better for the next generation, and you're going to see that still change, because I just think of how much change that I've seen in it'll be 23 years here in a couple weeks. It's like 10 years from now when I'm retiring, like how much change, how much different is it going to be, you know? So it's kind of cool, you know, to be part of that shift and stuff for everything. So, how about, so again, you took what's kind of like your progression then as far as is coming up? You know, you talked about, were you a driver at any point? Were you an assigned driver at any point?
Yeah, so I was an assigned driver at Station 9, which is a primarily Hispanic district downtown. Saw a lot of fire there. Pumped a lot of fires, but you know, I want to be in. I want to be back in. So my desire was to get back as captain as quickly as I could and get back on the hose line.
Yeah. Did you ever get assigned? Were you ever assigned to a truck company?
Yeah. So most of my career as a firefighter, I was assigned to Pumper 1, but a lot of times. The other two back-end guys were paramedics, so a lot of times I'd be detailed over to the truck. So did quite a bit of time on the truck. When I made captain, I was first assigned to training division for about, 2 years. Then I was assigned up to truck 10. So I was on a truck for 2 years before I got to 18s.
Yeah, and then been back on the engine ever since.
Yeah,
So
I had to build some seniority before I could get that bid. So
yeah.
Your heart's with the pumper then, huh?
it's the Lord's work.
There you go. So there's something with a driver operator handbook. Did you like?
Yeah, a couple years of my life. So I don't know. There's only a few of us that are maybe tied in with a bunch of degrees and come from a place kind of urban in the fire service. And because of my tie-in with Oklahoma State University, I helped with a few books for IFSTA.
Oh.
So I worked on strategy and tactics book and the 3rd edition of Aerial Operator.
Okay.
I was a truck captain at that time. From there, Jones and Bartlett reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in rewriting that book.
Yeah.
And like anything, I have great frustration with the textbooks that the U.S. has, as I think a lot of people do, because they're much like that old truck captain of, I don't want to change.
Yeah.
So that company approached me because of my background, because they knew me a little bit. And for some reason, in a moment of weakness, I said, yeah, I'll do it. Not knowing what I actually took over.
Yeah.
So I dove into that book and essentially completely rewrote that textbook.
Wow.
And I kept waiting for them to say, no, this isn't going to fly. And every time I said, hey, here's what I'm doing on it, they said, your name's on the book.
Huh. Yeah.
Go with it. Do what's right.
Okay.
And that is actually what's going to carry over, as I see it, from that company. So I'm probably going to be involved in quite a few more of the titles, and we're going to run with that. But so in the driver operator book, I was able to revamp it all from an urban standpoint of how we're doing it, from hand jacking if you have a plug close, of water on the fire is the most important thing immediately. So we really kind of rolled with that. For the fire geeks, coefficients, hand lines, things like that, that was always a sticking point as I try to teach hydraulics at the community college or my guys, a lot of times it's like, this is bullshit. Why are we doing it? We do the math inside, and then we go out and, I'll put gauges on, flow meters, and show them and be like, that's not at all what we calculated.
Yeah.
Then you got to explain, well, yeah, it's close. It's an approximation. Well, I got with Dennis Laguerre and I fixed the coefficient chart. We built a new coefficient chart. I talked to the researchers from Jensen and Hughes who had been hired by NFPA to redo the coefficient chart years ago, and they failed. So I had an idea. I got with Laguerre, which I don't know if you guys know who Laguerre is. Retired out of Oakland. He's responsible for a lot of the true ID hose and stuff through Key.
Wow.
Bringing things back. So we rebuilt the coefficient chart, and really, so this book has that included. So now the math more closely reflects the theoretical, reflects the actual field calcs. The new NFPA standard now requires hose manufacturers to publish their internal diameters, which is what this chart goes off. So basically, there's a range of internal diameters for your 1 3/4 hose.
Yeah.
So things get closer.
So is your coefficient then based on that? So like your coefficient is more based on your actual hose, not just hose in general.
Correct.
Love that.
Correct. Because we were seeing in 1 3/4 hose, it was anywhere from, 1 3/4 up to almost just shy of 2 inch.
Yeah. Like that 1.88.
Yeah. So your 1.88 was almost your standard hose.
Yeah.
Because the hose manufacturers were selling us low coefficient hose when really they were making the hose bigger.
Just hose bigger.
Sure.
Yeah. Huh.
So,
well, I wonder, because and it's interesting you said the Jones and Bartlett Fire Service Training Bureau here in Iowa is transitioning to most of everything to Jones and Bartlett. So this is the last year, because like I teach out at Western Iowa Tech also as an adjunct for the fire program out there. So our students, we were able to squeak in this year. We'll be able to still use the IFSTA, the essentials, because they still have the books and had to order them. But next spring now they'll be ordering Jones and Bartlett. We'll be switching criteria to that.
This is encouraging to hear because we have you.
My book is your book.
Yeah.
Okay, we have you who's actually helped and written books for Jones and Bartlett. That's nice to hear that they're letting you bring a real world, real application into these books, because
and rewriting them.
The biggest frustration I had, I was down at the training station here in Sioux City for about 8 years. And the biggest frustration I had teaching our people was having to teach them all the IFSTA stuff, but then having in the same breath, tell them that's not how it really is. And that was so frustrating. And Ryan, you can attest to this being at threes now. That's just, consumption of your time was teaching them to try and pass a test when knowing it's not the real way it is. It was so frustrating.
And so any of these textbooks, you have to make, because the certification's based on the NFPA standard, and the NFPA standards haven't necessarily evolved so much yet, you have to somewhat work that stuff in. So I fully expect the next iteration of more of these books to be more focused on how we actually do it while working within the confines of the NFPA standard. But really the NFPA standards are pretty broad.
Yes.
But what happens is, because when something comes into any textbook, now all of a sudden it's the law. It's the golden standard.
Yes.
And the NFPA standard gets blamed for it, but it was really this culmination of people that either wrote the textbook or the individual, in my case, said so.
Yeah.
Is more of the country switching to that Jones and Bartlett, because it seemed like IFSTA was kind of the only game in town forever.
It was, and I would never badmouth IFSTA. I love those guys. That is part of Oklahoma State University.
Mm-hmm.
But competition makes better product.
Yes, it does.
So for a long time there was a monopoly on it, and IFSTA had the market share. And I think by Jones and Bartlett coming up and becoming more known, they are gaining a large component of that market share. I think my book, as well as some of the other books and the authors, and that the way that they're developed on an individual versus a group consensus. I think we're having some success on being able to modernize a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we'll see. But yeah, Jones and Bartlett has greatly increased their market share, especially with my textbook throughout the country.
Yeah, and that's kind of cool. Well,
we are gaining some very good ground.
Well, and you need to, like you said, some of that stuff needs updated because, who would have thought when you started on, because, I'm guessing when you started on the department, same thing when I did, you always attacked fire from the unburned side of the structure. And we wasted more time going from the unburned side, walking through the house because we thought we'd push fire and we'd make things worse by, coming in the front door and putting the wet stuff on the red stuff right away or spraying water from the outside. Well, that was never a thing. And now that's all we teach is, you hit it hard from the yard on a second story, and you can do, we're teaching vent enter isolate searches. We're teaching, water application and cooling the environment is the best thing. You always make things better by putting the fire out, not wasting time and dragging hose to the back door so you can come through the house to the front door where the fire is, So, I mean, yeah, these books probably do need to be rewritten to, you've got younger guys, you got guys like yourself, that are coming up that are trying new ideas and seeing things on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, like, hey, I want to try that, or I want to see this tactic, or just coming up with just thinking stuff up and trying it, and it's working better. So yeah, maybe the textbooks do need updating. We
and
need
a lot
to
of
teach
these
it
things
different.
are all coming from the underground aspect. I mean, the world of nozzle stuff, I give Aaron Fields 100% full credit on it. One of my really good friends. I'm fortunate enough to say he's a friend of mine and a mentor. And I've been able to take some of those stuff. I have a ton of people tied in that somehow I got associated and get to know them and just get to learn from them, as often as I can. So Aaron, I think, was one of the biggest underground people that got it started. The search culture group, the fire safety study stuff, the rescue survey, Brian Brush,
Yes.
one of my classmates at Oklahoma State, all of these guys are now transitioning up and things are starting to evolve and turn. And the focus is going back to the job and the victim instead of, oh, don't kill yourself. This is such a
Beautiful.
safe environment. And we're not killing firemen. Fortunately, we're not killing firemen in house fire.
Mm.
We're getting hurt. We're having injuries.
Yeah.
But our job is to get them.
I love it.
Right.
Shout out to that search culture. That should be implemented in every academy, I think, that search culture book that just got put out. But that's great to hear, because all you seem to see sometimes, myself anyway, on these platforms is negativity around the job and the culture. The culture's bad now. It's like, well, your culture might be bad, but if you actually look at how things are going and keep up with these types of books, or people that are getting to write books now and stuff, that's not the way it is. It's just, we got to get back to what you said. What are the core values of the job? It's people and property, and us second. That's just how it is. And it's good to hear and see these books coming out back to that foundation. So
like anybody, I don't want to die, but
sure, but
it's not even a thought of it. I don't know. It's not even a thought in my mind when I'm running on a house fire.
No.
It's where are they going to be? How fast can we get our line in?
Yes.
Where's my back door in case we need to get out of here?
I think it's almost like we're smarter with better equipment, but we're going back to just that old school firefighting and just kicking indoors and just going, versus instead of like you said, just so safety concerned about stuff that we're just getting aggressive.
Time is not on our side.
No, that we're getting
but that's
aggressive
where
and
our
quick
education
again.
piece ties in. Before we couldn't articulate why we did those other things. And more importantly, we couldn't articulate why this other thing that we were doing wasn't working.
Yeah.
And now when we can show that 60 seconds is important, like bringing in
Engine A and truck 3, carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide.
Busy guys, we're busy on the west side. That's how we do it.
West 5th Street.
So a 3-man pumper company, the last couple chiefs, they want me to bring in a plug on well, if you got fire showing, bring in a plug. It's like, bullshit.
Why do I have water in my tank?
Exactly.
Why would I have water in my tank then?
So, we're having these discussions, but we couldn't give evidence-based stuff before till we had the fire rescue survey. Now they're like, it's going to cost you 60 seconds to do it. It's like, that's going to make me do the stretch instead of having the stretch happen as my 360 is being done.
What does 60 seconds do to our victims in our house fires?
And now we can show it's life or death. I can pull out somebody that survives versus pull out somebody that's dead. That's why we do the job.
Yeah.
Versus my 500 gallons, it's also showing, through the latest NIST studies, UL studies, it's showing that, 2-room involvement, they were putting out those fires with 250 gallons or less of water. Well, I'm carrying 500 for the initial knock. Or let's say I run out of water and we reset the fire, if that's the word you want to use.
Yeah.
I still got a primary, probably on that fire floor, whatever, and it's done. And we'll reset, and then we'll go back in once we got water.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is my second dude, it's life and death whether they bring me in a hydrant. Second dude has
100%.
to be motivated and has to be firm that we will bring you in water.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yes.
So what's
I've said it before. I'll take the write up. If we're at a policy at that point of you're going to bring in a first due hydrant, my bad.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we have 2 engines right now that are running 1,250 gallons, and the new engines we're looking at, we're going to put 1,200 gallons on them for water and stuff. And you look at that tactical advantage that 1,200 gallons or even 1,000 gallons gives you on a structure fire. I've done it. I know Rab's done it when I've been on vacation and stuff. You show up for a house, big fire, big water. You show up to a house with, fully involved in the front side or even a car fire. All of a sudden, that deck gun, that master stream at 500 GPM comes into play. When I take care of 1,000 gallons, I tell them 500 gallons in a minute on that fire. You know how much fire we just knocked out, and I still have 500 gallons before I catch my plug.
With my rig, if we're going to do an offensive deck gun hit, I got 10 seconds worth of water that I can go before we go in. So, I have to, you can deliver that in 10 seconds and get a great knockdown. But for you guys, you don't have to be as good with it. We have shut-off valves on our deck guns and things like that. So it's directed, but for us, if we're doing an offensive deck gun hit, it's going to be something real quick, or the second duo will do that offensive deck gun hit as we're stretching in about ready to make the door. Doesn't happen very often, but I'm pretty confident that our 500 gallons of onboard is plenty to get a knock. And if not, we're pulling 5 pumpers to a fire. So we're pulling 5 and 3, two trucks and a rescue and 2 ambulances. So I have plenty of equipment, plenty of people.
Is that a standard? Like, do you guys run like a box alarm and stuff? Is there just like a come in for like a smoke inside, and you send a smaller contingent and then like a 1075 or like a full working alarm, or is that the automatic dispatch for fire?
If it's credible evidence that we have a structure fire, it's going to be 5 pumpers, 3 trucks, and 2 med units. If it's a smoke investigate, if it's just a smell, we have smoke in the area, whatever, it's 1 apparatus.
Oh. So is that even a fire alarm, or so what's just an automatic fire alarm? What is that? One apparatus.
Yep. We were running full alarms, then we were running 1 pumper and 1 truck.
Yep.
But on an automatic alarm right now, it's just 1 rig.
Yeah. And we used to run that too. We used to run a full 4-tap for every fire alarm, and then it was Chief Martin, I think, when he came in, that he changed that to we still run 1 engine, 1 truck, but we've changed a lot with our response models as far as who's all running code 3 versus code 1 to things, to cut down and some of that stuff. So that, we're still running 2 apparatus on automatic alarms, and investigate smoke inside, where it's in gas leaks and stuff, where we cut down. Instead of 3 engines, we'll send 2 engines, and we've changed it a little bit and stuff, but that's interesting with that. So coming from driving up to captain stuff, so going to the future stuff, you said you took the Chiefs test. So are we hoping for I guess a bat chief spot to open up here?
I'd
Is
love
that
to
the
get an
next
ops
stop?
job.
Yeah.
But with my background and, I help teach a lot of academies and I've taught at the community college. I'm essentially the lead fire instructor for our community college.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to the academy, I guess so be it.
Yeah.
You're like, I wrote the books already. I don't need to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. For my own selfishness, I want to have an ops job because if I don't get it now, I don't feel like I'll ever get the opportunity to be an ops
Mhm.
chief. But
Yeah.
the last 3 years, I've been about 50% in the battalion buggy anyway. So
Yeah.
I get that time. You just don't get to say I was an ops chief.
Sure.
So you have 3 battalion chiefs operations. What are your other battalion chiefs then?
Okay, so we have 3 battalion chiefs and a shift commander. That's all on shift. So a 3 Beagle is also on shift. So there's 3 of those.
Okay.
And then in the training division, there's a battalion chief over development, professional qualifications, and another battalion chief helping with the academy and training, and then an assistant chief over that division. And then there's some captains and whatever in there. And then there's a logistics assistant chief.
Dispatch.
We have quite a few arson investigators that are the rank of a battalion chief, but this last contract has those actually at career track for fire.
Okay.
Those jobs will be of any rank.
Okay.
There is a battalion chief rank for transport supervisor, transport division. He's ordering supply parts, and then EMS director, which is an assistant chief. So most of the BC positions are in operations.
Mm-hmm.
There's those 2 that are in training.
Yeah. Are you guys 22 and out, or are you guys 55 before retirement?
So I can retire at 50.
Okay.
We vest at 15 years. But I can leave essentially any point after 50 years old. But we have a max, so it's 2.5% per year, and we have a max right now of 90%, and then we also have a 5-year drop.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
but you could retire, but at 50, you could leave at 50 with full retirement.
yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
with
I like
with
that.
full retirement of what I'm at that point.
Yeah, whatever percent it is at that point and stuff. So I guess there's incentive for guys to stay till 55. It's like us, we have 55's retirement, and then, you have drop after that. You could do a 5-year drop. So some guys, you can max out your dollars if you wait 2 years to go to the drop at 57 and then do your 5-year drop and you're done at 62, which to me, I think is way too long to be around this job and stuff. I actually like the idea of the retirement age at 50, because health-wise, you're still in pretty good shape then. You're not too beat up. You're not too broken. Hopefully not any long-term health effects and stuff. You can enjoy your retirement, gets you off the payroll. Also, you're not a burden on so many guys it seems like after 50, we're getting closer to 55, or guys stay past 55, they get the injuries and then they're getting pensioned off. So now the city owns them as far as they have, long-term injuries that, and then also how much are you enjoying your retirement if you're, 8 up and stuff. So I like the idea of the younger retirement age,
And like when I was getting hired, we had a lot of guys that were getting hired in the early 20s, and as things opened up and it got easier to get fire jobs, we've been hiring 19-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a 19-year-old retiring at age 50, he's got 31 years already.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's just a little bit different of what the system is, but it's nice to have some options.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. Going back to engine work, you talked a little bit about hose. So on the nozzle side of things, I'm sure you've done quite a bit of research. Do you have a preference between fog, smooth bore. I've seen a lot of stuff about McCormick's nozzle lately. So geek out a little bit and.
Yeah, please. So a little back to that. Myself and Baker have been doing a lot of trying to find new hose because we have the old double jacket. You know, you're pumping 150 pump pressure trying to move that thing, and it's taxing. It is, but we always just told guys, well, there's a weight room in the station, so.
Yeah,
but
15.5 coefficient.
But the more we hear about how inaccurate some of these pump pressures actually are for the hose that we have is what we want to hear about. So please elaborate.
That's really why you're kicking people's asses on the nozzle is because it wasn't that you needed 150. That's just what you were giving it. Mm-hmm. You know, so years ago, I'd have told you I was a smooth bore guy, and I still am a smooth bore. I mean, my back end guys have the option. Hey, I don't care what you want, the smooth bore or the fog, but that's because in KCK, we run the Elkhart XDs, 7/8 tip with a flow match 160 at 50. So we run all 50 PSI nozzles. So
love it. Love it.
I don't care about the form that it comes out.
Nice.
What I care about is that my flows are the exact same. The driver doesn't care what it is. So that's where it is. But my preference is always just because of the possibility of a little bit of plugging issues that could happen. And we have had some plugs, residue in nozzles. It's probably been 10 years since a guy's plugged a nozzle, but we had a guy plugged a nozzle, crazed his face piece, had to back out. I don't know where the crap came into the system, but so it's always there. So we have that option on all of our rigs of running either the smooth bore or the flow matched Elkhart XDs, which is a pet project of mine that's been going on. When we initially transitioned to smooth bores 15 years ago, we had a Task Force Tips flip tip, which was a smooth bore and a fog nozzle on the end, and I had to do the flow calcs to make that not matter for the driver, but we just called it the home record because it was.
That's what we run.
That's
right?
what we're running, right? That's what we're running. Yeah, two buku. Yeah. Yeah.
We like to teach guys, get your hand off that nozzle, keep it back on the cotton.
But you can't.
But it's a foot long, huge piece of pipe on the end of the hose. How am I not supposed to? I get guys creeping their hand up there and holding it like in their chest. So you're talking about the Chief XD. You're talking about having this 50-pound nozzle, 160 gallons a minute. You're speaking my language. That's for crazy. Sure. And
so in your specific instance, and we'll get into it a little bit more, I did talk about Laguerre being one of my friends as well. Helped me with the coefficient chart. You just mentioned Ray's nozzle. So there's been something that's quietly been introduced to help you guys that are on your higher pressure nozzles or low pressure nozzles that are front heavy, and that's the back pressure reduced or the back pressure increaser. I got 4 of them in my truck that I play with. For our specific hose package, we currently run Key Big 10 hose, which is a little bit bigger hose, and on that 7/8, it's not as kinky, but when the guy puts the fog tip on, that fog tip has some extra weight. So that 50 pounds can get a little bit floppy for him still with that Key Big 10. That back pressure reducer essentially at that flow rate eats up 25 pounds. So you pump 25 pounds hot and it eats it up right before it comes out the nozzle. So you don't have that increased flow rate for it, but you get 25 more pounds right behind your nozzle to stiffen it up.
So what brand are you going with on that backflow pressure device?
So we're not buying them in KCK. We're broke as shit.
You're demoing them.
But I have them. I've demoed them.
Okay.
I teach people about them. I talk about them. Hen makes it.
Okay. So I've been looking into the Hen ones for our hoses for that reason. So I was just wondering.
I can send you one up.
Please do. Can we do that? Can we make that happen?
Yeah. So I'm coming up fishing on the 30th I'll call
Okay.
you when I'm coming through town and hand one off
Please.
to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you going fishing at? Where are you going
so
fishing at?
that's we're going up to Webster, South Dakota.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's something that will be a quick fix, a Band-Aid for you. That is actually built into Ray's nozzle, which raises the square smooth bore
The
versus
square smooth bore. Yep.
the hen is the adjustable fan. I've played with both of those. You know, for years I fought complex systems.
Mm-hmm.
So I always have that concern with any moving parts. So I don't
Sure.
think that's fully been alleviated, but that back pressure increaser has absolutely no moving parts of what it does. So that's something you can play with. For us, you know, I prefer that 7/8 be pumped 10 pounds hot. So then anybody with technique, and as they flow more, they can get used to doing it and dealing with that increased nozzle reaction. But that 7/8 for somebody that doesn't have the time behind the nozzle, or maybe doesn't have, you know, I'm 200 pounds. If they're 150 pounds, that 7/8 pumped correctly is a beautiful nozzle for them.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Back pressure increaser. That's interesting. Yeah. Good stuff.
If you need something to do later.
Yeah, I
for
think it's
training,
called the turbo. I
Yep.
think that's what the
Turbo
official
back
name
pressure.
is.
Yep. Turbo back pressure increaser. Yep.
So, you know, technologically, it's like, holy shit, why didn't we think of this years ago?
Right.
But so, you know, our pump pressures are fine. You were talking about pumping at 150. The rigs can handle 150.
Yep.
Just the problem when we were pumping at 150, if it wasn't actually being ate up in the hose through friction loss, you were getting it on your end.
You're getting it all.
And
yeah.
as you're getting it on your end, more water's coming out as a result. And now you're eating that in nozzle reaction, because now the speed in which the water's coming out of that orifice, it increases, which is what causes our nozzle reaction. You know, it's how fast the water comes out, not how much water's coming
How
out.
much? Yep.
Right.
So, but I mean, that gets real geeky there. You
That's
know,
good stuff. No,
so
that's great
where,
stuff.
When I first came in the fire service, our 2.5s, we had automatic 2.5-inch nozzles, and everyone thought, oh, how can you be offensive or do anything with a 2.5-inch nozzle? So we never pulled it, because we had these 100 psi automatic nozzles on our 2.5s that we were probably in the 140 pounds of nozzle reaction.
On a 2.5.
Now we're on we flow an 1 3/16 tip at 40 at the nozzle, so we're flowing 265, and it's beautiful on
beating it up.
And our guys, you know, they'll be like, oh, they still carry these old things, and it's like, well, let's go flow it, and I'll get it to where it needs to be. And I'll be like, guys, pump this at 60 pounds, and they're like, holy cow! Now I see what you mean. It's like, you've had it for long, and you're not flowing just up.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
Beautiful.
like anywhere, you can tell people, I can teach all I want, and it's just Pat talking. You know, so they don't really listen until I get them out on the drill field, and it's like, this is how a 2.5 is supposed to be. I'm like, oh, okay, we can do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But they always have a tendency of over pumping that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody wants to over pump stuff and doesn't realize the consequences of it. So when we first got into this nozzle stuff, we were running the Elkhart Selectomatic automatic nozzle on our 1 3/4. I mean, that's what I first had in my hands here. And as I got into more of the geekdom of nozzles, I went and put a flow meter on it, and I took multiple crews out, and I said, okay, pump this at where you like it. And we were flowing 89 GPM. Consistently, crews were flowing 89 GPM. And that's when I started. Now I had facts, I had figures, I calculated our coefficients for our hose. And it's like, listen, this is what we need to be doing. This is, if we're going to flow these, this is where we need to be at on our pump pressures. And then we started transitioning equipment. We had money once upon a time.
Sure.
And we bought some stuff. So a lot of the hose nozzle package not just me. None of this was just me, but a group of us that got things to change. And for years, it was hitting your head against a wall.
Sure.
And real change all of a sudden just happens. You know, you don't know how or where, just all of a sudden the skies align and something happens. There's never really any real gradual transition. It's just all of a sudden, bam, let's do it and go after years of work.
Well, that's encouraging at least.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Putting the time in. Boy, that's good stuff. Like the nozzle, like just, it's just geeking out on that kind of stuff. It just, because it makes sense, and to know that there's a better way to do
Well, I
things.
mean,
Like
guys,
it's like there's a better way to
bitch
do
about
things
it all
like
day
stuff.
because we know the numbers, we know what we're supposed to be doing, and all that does is create guys going, "Don't pump me at that."
Yeah.
Well, you're not pumping at what you should be pumping at.
Right.
But I get it, to an extent.
Right.
But
Well,
understanding why.
Well, and I like
that's
kind of,
the
and
beauty of the smooth bore or any fixed gallonage nozzle is if you under pump it, the nozzleman suffers the consequences because now it's kinky as shit, and or you can see it versus the automatic nozzle would lie to you and it's like looks good, let's go.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the danger with the automatic one is
Yes.
you don't know that you're not getting the GPM, and that GPM is based on. I mean, there's a formula there to tell you like there's a reason why we're pumping at 150 GPM or we want 150 GPM at that nozzle. So, like what I kind of like is the when you're talking 160 GPM and stuff at way lower pressures, and that's incredible to me. It's like you're working less hard and getting more water.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like how is that not? How does everybody not go like, oh yeah, let's do that, so we don't beat our guys up so much, so that we have maybe a longer work rest
Time is
stuff, and like
time is money, man.
yeah, and you can move faster.
And now
you can do all
we understand that, and now that we've gone from 100 psi nozzle pressures to 50, we don't have to lower our pump pressures. We can go to some smaller hose because we have some give.
Yeah.
So the fire service has now embraced that. And now that 188 inch and 3/4, now we're running true hose, so now you're seeing the 1.7 and the 1.77, which is sniper, which is what we're getting ready to go to. Or the next iteration of this is we're going to start seeing more 1.5 inches.
1.5 inches again. Yep.
Yeah. And you're going to 1.5 inches because now of the newer synthetic materials, that 1.5 inches is going to be around 1.6 something. And we're going to be able to get those flows, the 160 range out of that. So whether I'm in a 1.5 or at 166, or if I'm at on my new sniper hose at 177, that's minuscule to me. But going down from 188 is huge.
Well, yeah, because you're talking, especially if you're getting the same flows with the same pressure or less pressure. You're talking a ton of weight when you're talking 200 feet of hose that you're dragging through a house.
Yep.
And that's making guys work a lot. They're not working as hard, so they're pushing harder, pushing faster because you can move easier. And then you're not wearing everybody out. So a guy comes out and slugs some water, gets some air, goes right back in. You're not.
And as we get into when we went to the low pressure nozzle, then we were in a pump pressure range of around 120. Well, a lot of our hydrants are so hot, you're hooked to the plug, your rig's in gear,
you're just letting it idle.
You're letting it idle, or you're gating down for those pressures.
Yep.
Our rig has no problem in the 150 to 200. It wasn't about pump pressures.
Yeah.
It was about these other things. So, getting our pressures back up, our pump discharge pressures back up, and it just being 8 in the hose is actually making it easier for the driver, easier for that pressure governor instead of before, we had the relief valves. It actually allows that stuff to operate a little bit better.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, and then what's hard, and we have those, some good hydrants, that, are 120 pounds and stuff. But when you got rigs in here that are, our older rigs that had 30 pounds, our newer ones that had 50 pounds in idle, without even engaging. So now you got 120, so you got 120 coming in and stuff. So yeah, you're either trying to gate down that pre-connect, which you're messing with that and constantly,
gating down
it's hard to do.
Is horrible. So
yeah, or you're trying to gate down the intake, which is even harder. So it's like, well, and as a driver, and I've done it, and I teach the younger guys too, because they'll sit there and they have all this pressure, and they're like, well, what do I do with it? Well, if your tank's full, shut down the intake, just go tank to pump. And, if you got to fill it back up, if you got to switch over, crack your tank fill, or use your tank fill to recirculate, dump some pressure. You got to dump it someplace
So what
instead
you
of
said
on those
right there
guys that are down the hose
used to
line.
be the golden rule of never gate down your intake. Well,
Yeah.
I talk about it in the book. We start gating down the intake and how and this water availability, the ability to calculate how much water is available, that all runs into that on just understanding what you're doing.
Right. Right. And just, so but this is, I don't know. It's kind of exciting. It's kind of cool when we're
Talk about
like
getting down your intake. We have pneumatic intakes on our newer engines.
Oh, yeah.
So that's impossible. So now you're trying to come up with a way to dump it on a discharge that's not being used or something silly, rather than going over and just gating it down.
And trying to regulate
that was a great concept.
Mm-hmm.
Is that on the front and rear or on your side intake?
Side. Yeah.
So it's just an open and close or a percentage of open and close?
It's just open or shut.
So on your sides, you just add an intake relief valve. So you don't even have a percentage open?
No. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You're doing what we're doing.
Just by adding an external, whether it's that rotator, which I think is probably the better one on the market, versus your spins that don't. But
yeah, it's really nice too because it'll open 100% in about 2 seconds. So then you have a 120-pound hydrant hitting your rig, and I'm sure that's good for the pump.
Yeah. Water hammer's not a thing.
Really good for the guy on the hand line.
100%.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, because that's who's going to get punished. That's who gets beat on that. So,
we can title this section "The Knob is the Job." That's a good one there.
Nice. So what kind of? We get into how about like favorite types of calls and stuff? What do you kind of? Obviously you're a fire guy. You like eating a little smoke and stuff, getting salty and everything. But what time on the truck? Any as far as do you do anything hazmat, tech rescue, ropes? What's your favorite kind of calls to run?
So I have avoided hazmat for 21 years. We went pretty in depth in it in my bachelor's degree. And when I came here, I saw the writing on the wall that I wanted nothing to do with hazmat. But actually, last 2 shifts ago, I was BC on an ammonia leak that we dumped 150, 180 gallons of ammonia at a cold storage warehouse. So I once again remember I don't like hazmat. Probably could have done a better job from my standpoint. So not hazmat. I'm pretty into the special ops stuff. In fact, I was supposed to be deploying to Texas on the 26th, but they revised the numbers. We have a crew down there now, but they revised the numbers in Kerr County, so we canceled that deployment. So now I'm going fishing.
There you go.
So I love the special ops stuff. Last week we had 11 inches of rain in 7 hours here.
That's
overnight.
Incredible.
We flooded all over town. I think in 7 hours we ran 89 calls. I was instant command on a swiftwater rescue of a homeless person in a ravine. And so while everybody else was running on all those calls, we were doing a real operation. So I always have a love for special ops stuff. With my mechanical aptitude, any call that requires some thought, of what we're going to do, even if it doesn't require thought, but something that we can make an impact. So old lady, we have cold weather, it thaws out, and she's got a busted water line. I love being able to come in and shut her water off for her. We ran a little house fire the other day, and the dryer was on fire, but as we're going through, the back wall has a big crack in it, and she just had a air conditioner put in, and there was an issue there. Of course, I'm looking at the heating and cooling system of my dad. So I'm telling her,
Yeah.
hey, besides this really needs addressed. So I like that stuff.
Yeah.
Machine rescue, any of the heavy rescue stuff, but nothing compares to fires.
No.
You know, that's why I do the job. And that's really why I haven't taken the chief's test I always said till I had 20 years. Now I'm at 21, and I guess the days come, but I still, you know, nothing's better than a first due.
Yep.
Best.
Yeah, that's where it's still like, you know, even 20 plus years on the job, that's still all of a sudden you got to, you know, run it out. And when it's your first due, you know, it comes in as not just like investigate smoke, like comes in where structure fire, you know, you still get out to the rig and putting your gear on and going, okay, take a breath, just like, because that adrenaline that, you know, you still get that endorphin dump, and that adrenaline still kicks in a little bit, just like where you're on probation, get that first one. I mean, maybe it's a little bit different because you're running through so many more things in your head as far as the officer position, but you know, yeah, there's still that taste and stuff when you
So
get
really,
in there.
any call that I can make an impact, any call that we just don't feel like we're being abused or taken advantage of,
Yeah.
which is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see where I was at. So, what's been your favorite, I guess, position or that you've had on the department? You know, your time driving as an officer. I mean, what's kind of been where have you been the happiest, I guess?
On the seat at Pumper 18, you know, I'm as far west as we can be in the downtown battalion. So we're kind of on our own island. Nobody comes to visit our part of town unless there's a reason. So I have a lot of autonomy. Have a downtown double house just east of me. So they're right on top of me, and I have no worries about having to operate by myself. We butt up to the Missouri River on the north. So I have a huge territory. We're busy. I have an ambulance, and we do special ops. So it's never hard to find good personnel that want to come work for me. And I've been able to build a crew. I've been able to build a crew and a culture of workers.
Yeah.
You know, not that the next rig over doesn't poke fun of us and make fun of us, but when they come up for a promotion, I tend to get a phone call. Hey, dude, you got a spot?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
that's been the biggest thing of just really being able to build that crew and make it something that hey, this is where we want to be, and that's carried over from all three shifts on 18s. All the crews are a bunch of studs, and the captains are great. It's a station that there's not a lot of movement into it if you're not assigned, because we're always full. And it's a station that most of the rescue guys had never worked at. So then when a rescue guy promotes, they come to be captain, and the only way you typically leave 18s is through promotion. You, as a captain, you stay because it's a good place.
Place to be.
Nice. Any mentors on the job? Anybody who like stands out as far as who really helped shape your career or kind of set a path for you or instilled some things?
Yeah, through KCK, you know, that one guy that I knew here working on my master's degree that said to come up, he was a mentor. He actually shortly after that became our fire chief.
Wow.
Which kind of allowed me some access to do some things that the normal guy at 10 years probably wouldn't be able to do.
There's that connection. We were wondering we know who he made the call to now.
Yeah,
the fixer.
But even if it wasn't that, I mean, I don't take no for an answer a lot of times. So he's probably my biggest mentor here. But not coming from here and really my department didn't have a lot of outside interaction anywhere, but I did, you know, in college on the summers, the way that I was able to not start testing for fire departments is every summer I would go work an internship. So I got to get the fire calls out of my system. So my first summer, I worked in Dothan, Alabama, for a guy named Dennis Rubin. He was a little fire chief at that time. And then he moved from Dothan to Norfolk, Virginia, from Norfolk, Virginia to Atlanta, from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. as the fire chief. So I worked for him, and then I went to work for the next summer a guy named Alan Brunacini in Phoenix. And
just name dropping left
yeah.
and right. This is
so
awesome.
I worked for Phoenix for a summer under resource management, working for Kevin Roach, and I lived in Fire Station 23 there.
Wow.
I lived at Fire Station 1 in Dothan. And then Ruben had gone to Norfolk, Virginia, so he hired me to come up in Norfolk, Virginia. So I worked in Rescue 3 there on a heavy rescue. And then I came back and, you know, so my first summer in college, I was in basic training, then second, third, fourth summers. And then, you know, those were my last internships, and I was basically hired shortly after that.
Man.
So I kind of seen other places, and I have a whole bunch of mentors. You know, number one was my dad.
Sure.
You know, he likes to play the dumb guy at times, and kind of the sympathy of, oh, I'm just a dumb guy, but his drive and desire and want to do things better. You know, I saw him run the show and change things and get pissed off when change wouldn't happen, or how to maneuver around people that were roadblocks. So he's still to this day my number one. But then Ruben, you know, probably my second most influential person. And for years he told me he'd never come to Kansas City, and he's my fire chief right now. So he came up here about 18 months ago. We had a chief from Chicago that we ran out of town.
Ran him right out.
Yeah. So, I mean,
wanted to make it Chicago West or something.
Anything in life, there, you know, any department, there's doers and there's promoters. And we hired a promoter that wanted to see if he could be a fire chief. And and he might have been a fire chief somewhere else, but not here. He didn't want to be a member of our department. Wanted to be in charge of our department, not a member. And it took a while. I think we lived with him for 5 years. And quickly after he left, we tried to erase everything that was done under him. So Ruben came in. It was supposed to be a short interim position. He quickly saw that we had a lot of work to do, and he got the full-time job. I don't know how long he'll stay. I mean, he was a fire chief when I was 20, so he's been a fire chief for 25 years.
Yes.
You know, so day to day on it.
Yeah.
But
that's got to be pretty. That's got to be pretty neat.
And then Aaron Fields. Aaron Fields has probably been my biggest awakening, not mentor, but awakening of this is why these things are, and kind of played in with my education of, you know the way that these things work. You can play a role in it. And then probably Brian Brush, one of my classmates. You know, Brian is moving up the charts right now. It's always been when I start feeling low or why me, or am I good enough to do this? It's like Brian's already blazed the trail. Brian's taken on this responsibility. So if he can do it, why not? Why can't I? Tommy Jenkins. Tommy was the fire chief of Rogers, Arkansas, another one of my classmates. He's now working for USFA. I think he's heading the nearest project right now. But you know, I expect him to move up through USFA as well. So they've all kind of been mentors and just colleagues of mine, and the list goes on and on of people. Right. But those are probably the others. You know, one guy that I never got to meet that I sure as hell would have, love to, Andy Frederick.
Yep.
You
Definitely.
know, I've read all of his stuff. A lot of it carries forward. A lot of it's the inspiration of what we're living today, from years ago. But unfortunately, he died on 9/11. So,
Those are some good names there.
Yeah, how cool is that for you though? For where Ruben, when to know he was coming to Kansas City. I mean, this guy you interned with and a bunch of times, and then his going to the departments that he's worked at as chief, and then all of a sudden he's, you know, I mean, what's that phone call like where he's like, hey, I'm coming to Kansas City.
So he was pretty tight-lipped on it. There was a staff meeting, and in the staff meeting, I got a text message, and it was just Ruben ? So I immediately like, what the hell? So I called him and I go, hey, you got something to tell me? He goes, well, I wasn't able to, but I guess it's out now. So pretty cool. I mean, my entire life, he said, I will never come to Kansas City. It's too damn cold there. And he says that every single day. You know, our winters are too cold for him. But it was pretty exciting, but also nerve-wracking. Because, you know, being the fire chief anywhere is one that can kind of eat you up. Yeah. And knowing his view on some things and knowing where we were currently, it's somewhat been uncomfortable for me. Mm-hmm. Sure. I'm transitioning. Yeah. So I don't know. It's good. Like any fire chief, there's been more good than bad.
Yeah. Yep. That's good.
So I think we are in a better place than we were.
Good.
But
yeah,
you know,
that's what matters.
Yep. Progress, right? Any advice that you would give to newer guys coming up? Any of the new kids?
Don't be a one-trick pony. Learn your job. Become as well-rounded as you can. Don't burn bridges. Who knows? You might be on the wrong side of that bridge when you burn it. You're always going to need people. So try to realize that relationships are what the fire service is about. Not about being the best, not about being a badass, because sometimes you get old or hurt or just the bad end of something that happened, and you need those relationships. And that's really what makes the job fun, because we don't have fires all the time. Mm-hmm. So, you know, get your education. It used to be that a bachelor's degree meant something. It used to be that a master's degree meant something. And now we have many more people coming on with those things. Most of them are from diploma mills, and they didn't really mean anything, but but that's what I'd say, and be prepared for the long haul. You know, as we get in, the mental health stuff is for real. I've watched a couple people that have ended their lives because of it, of my friends. So for 15 years, I thought I was a badass and didn't need that. And then, you know, I was teaching an academy 3 years ago, and one of my students did it. And then one of my good friends that worked for Johnson County did it too. So, you know, stuff starts becoming real. And, you know, we've had a couple cop murders here in town. We were on a bad run for some cops, and there was a cop that was killed that I used to stand in line picking up our daughters at school every day. And Brad got shot and killed, and needless. And, you know, that's when I came to terms with my emotions on duty that had never happened before. And it's like, all right, I'm not a badass. And I cried. And that's really when I started realizing that some of this stuff bottles up, and you know, you can deal with it good. And for the most part, I wouldn't say any of it affects me, but to realize that it's for real, and
Yeah.
That's probably why we got a lot of guys with alcohol problems and marital problems, and because we just have baggage.
Yep.
So I just realized I got baggage. I don't think it's affecting me too much, and I need to find outlets for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you don't get to be 20 plus years on the job or whatever and not, I mean, it's just, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there.
The minute you think you have the worst call ever, then something replaces it in that picture book.
Yeah.
And, the other one you say replaces it, it just replaces on the most fresh until you drive past this other place or you had something similar and it's like, oh shit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It just goes in the file cabinet.
Yeah. It's not the fun stuff. And for years I didn't ever say anything to my wife. And then one day it's like, PTSD. And she's like, yeah, PTSD. And it's like, probably.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do it without it. I don't think it affects me, but it might someday.
Yeah.
So
that's just
it. That's probably one of the things we need to talk with our younger guys more.
Yeah.
We ran a pretty bad call the other day. So afterwards, I legitimately had a little talk with them on, hey, shit happens. We had a paramedic rider, had a few people reach out to her to make sure that this isn't normal. I mean, we had two 11-year-old and 13-year-old blew their hands off with commercial fireworks. So it was one that you don't want to see, and it's like, damn it.
Yep. Yeah.
So
for those new kids to tell them that this isn't what you signed up for. It's not every day, but it is part of the job. There's stuff there. That's that saying where sometimes you wish that your mind could forget what your eyes are seeing. That's one of those that.
And I mean that's a call that we made a huge impact on, and we're able to comfort them and manage the scene great. And it was a lot of work to be done, but it's there forever.
Yep.
So, as any of those, if it's going to happen, then I want to make my impact, but we just shoulder that burden and, watch out for our guys. Cause another part with that shift schedule where you're off too much, that's too many days to drink in a row.
Yep.
Yeah.
Too much time to sit and think if you're not,
versus, hey,
if you're not having outlets.
I can't drink all night because I got to go to work in the morning. That only gives you one free day to get blasted.
Yeah.
So,
Guys need to have, like you said, have those outlets. Go fishing, work out, walk, ride a bike.
Yeah.
Write books, whatever you can. It's way better, way
that
healthier.
Is not good for your mental health. That was 2+ years of my life of why. I mean, I knew why I was doing it, but damn.
Yeah.
That was abuse. That was abuse on my system.
Yeah. Try renovating a house. Anything you want to say to like friends and family? So we say like this is a lives on the interwebs, goes on the YouTubes and lives on the interwebs forever and stuff. So anything you want to say to like family and time capsule it for family and wife or anything like that?
Yeah. So I mean, Jackson. So my boy, he thinks he's going to go this route. He's 16 years old right now. So 30 years from now, Jackson, pull it up. I hope you've been as impactful as me, or maybe you'll be like, Dad, you didn't do shit. But the other aspect is it's got my name on it, but Paul was so much a part of who I am and what I am of making me this. I know Baker knows my dad. I don't know if you guys do, but Dad actually tested for Sioux City, I think once or twice when Danny tested, and just couldn't get on. He was quite a bit older then, but so Paul's a big portion as well as everybody else. My wife is constantly giving up time for me to do this stuff. At one point in the book, you're not here, you're not present, and it's like, I know, just let me. I just have to get through it. I made this commitment. got to get through this. I'm sorry. And she's picking up the slack on everything. You know, so to have that support structure, throughout my entire career, she's allowed me to do what I want to do. Oh, you want to go fishing? Okay. Oh, you want to go to this conference? You want to spend money on more training? Go for it. You know, it's always a time balance, and she'll reel me in when, hey, you're too thin on your time. You got to drop something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But she's the underside of why I've been able to do what I do.
Yeah.
So she's listening to me right now.
Yeah.
So I got to throw her in. And, you know, I talk about Jackson. I got 2 girls too. If they want to do this job, or Macy just graduated, she's going to nursing school. She's really getting into the emergency department stuff. You know, so some of that plays a role. All my kids, you know, seeing that little bit, hopefully I can be an inspiration.
Yeah. Nice.
Very good.
And,
Like that.
and maybe the rest of the Iowa guys, you know, I came from nowhere. I literally came from nowhere, and you know, I'm not anybody, but I'm just some dude. But I'm some dude that I've had some opportunities, and there's continuing to be more opportunities as this thing snowballs to make an impact and to right some of this stuff, to right some of the things that I thought were the wrongs of the fire service in the 80s and 90s due to laziness.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know, and that should be inspiring to kids coming up, or just some dude on the job going like, you know, I have all this stuff, I want to do something, but I don't know how to do it, or I don't think I can. Yeah. You're some dude from Aurelia, Iowa, and you're writing books for Jones and Bartlett that are going to go all over the country. That guys are going to relearn, not necessarily relearn, but improve how they fight fires and how they, in their tactics and everything, and what, you know, to maybe change the fire service. So, I mean, it can happen, right? Some dude from nowhere.
Yep.
So
all over the world.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, the international sales have been pretty significant.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. He's like this guy just named. I was like, well, when Bruno Cena and I were hanging out,
Yeah, man,
selling my book all around the world.
Well,
kind of
there
thing.
wasn't
Just-
much hangout time with Bruno because he wasn't around very much, but I did get some FaceTime, and I did work for him.
Yeah.
But really the whole Phoenix deal, you know, I never applied for Phoenix.
Yeah.
You started on finding out that Santa Claus wasn't for real. Well, I loved my time in Phoenix, but when I got there, it was really they're another fire department.
Mhm.
You know, I explained it as
Right.
finding that the Easter Bunny wasn't for real.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter.
Sure.
But you had this thing built up in your head that it was
Right,
so
that's
cool,
the
and
thing.
the
Yep.
guys were no different than anywhere else.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
See, that was your moment. I had that moment with the book 3,000 Degrees about the Worcester, Massachusetts cold storage fire. So I moved from northern Minnesota. I grew up in northern Minnesota, and me and my good friend and stuff up there. I mean, we were FDNY, Chicago, like East Coast, salty, leather helmets, 3/4 boots. I mean, that like watching Backdraft every day just because like nerding out on all of it. But that was firefighting to me. And here I get hired in Sioux City, Iowa, and I'm going like, you know, where, like, you know, I know where Sioux City was. I went to school in Omaha, but
Commercial
so-
rigs and salad bowls.
so I moved down here and I'm going, you know, is this, you know, I'm 21, you know, 21 years old, and I'm going, is this this is not what I thought it'd be. Read the book 3,000 Degrees on the job here, and, you know, because another Worcester, Mass, you're talking East Coast, you know, smooth bores, all that stuff, but it just put it, like you said, it put everything into perspective when all of a sudden, like, oh, that's just it's the names, it's just the names of the play. You just change it. It's the same job. You know, they're talking about the same, like, you know, no runs or just sitting on a bumper or mopping floors or doing whatever. And it's like the same thing. It's just another fire department. So all of a sudden it became a thing that Sioux City was like, okay, you know what? I'm a firefighter, and that's all that's important. That's all that matters at this point. You know, and then just, you know, do the best you can or where you're at. And you don't have to have this desire to go to someplace else because you're doing the job. You're doing it.
Yeah,
So,
and you start looking at the huge department, but you don't, in essence, you don't work for that department. You work for that station.
You work at
Yeah,
that
station
firehouse, that
runs
company, yep.
between 5 and 14 calls a day. And, whatever your district is your world of calls. If you're in Manhattan, your world is just high rises, but you're still only running 5 to 10 calls a day of those. Yep. My neighborhood is mostly 1930s to 1970s homes. I got a couple high rises in my district, and that's most of my first due. And I'm running a ton of medical calls, and my fires are an older construction method, bungalow or old traditional home. Yep. So you look at these big things outside of some of the opportunities of different places in the special ops stuff.
Yep.
My job on my rig is probably not anything different than any of your stations right off downtown.
Yep. At the end of the day. Yep. Exactly. All right, Chief. So a couple of things we kind of heard you. You're Captain. Sorry. Blanking. That's my Alzheimer's kicking in.
Preparing for the Chief.
Yeah. So we kind of already got your thoughts on, pumper, I guess, but you're an engineman, you're a pipeman and stuff, not so much not a steppy and stuff. So a stepman. And smooth bores versus fog nozzles. We kind of talked on that as far as, what your preference is there. So you coffee drinker though?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So what's your preferred, if you had the time to brew a cup of coffee any way you wanted to, what would be your preferred method?
If I'm brewing it, or if somebody at the station says, "Hey, Cap, let me make you a cup of coffee."
I guess what's the best brew method for coffee? Do you think?
So we got in that there's some those auction sites or whatever.
Yeah.
Some of those we can get some espresso machines, and we'll pound the espresso. Sometimes we'll get in a kick. One of my new girls was a brewista.
Oh man!
And a tree trimmer at one point, and a masseuse. That girl's got everything. So she'll make a cup of coffee. A lot of crews, if they care about their coffee, they'll use those AeroPresses.
Yep.
I love coffee, but I'm lazy. So I'm putting Folgers in the bun.
Yeah.
All right.
Making a cup of coffee because I'm quantity over quality.
Yeah. That's the firehouse standard there.
I enjoy someone else making a really good cup of coffee for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I got too much stuff to do. I don't take the time.
Right.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of the AeroPresses and stuff. We do, pour over and stuff for French press, and I'm a big Chemex fan, but it's Chemex, by the time you boil the water, brew it, it's a good 10 minutes to, it's a process. So it's, but I mean,
I ain't doing that shit.
Yeah.
I'll drink it. Hey, Captain, coffee's ready. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Go with that. Yeah, I don't know what else you got. You guys got anything? Baker's like, no, I got nothing.
No, I got all mine in with the nozzle and hose talk. That was
just geeking
great.
out.
Oh, there's way more on that. I mean,
oh yeah. We'll have a part 2. We'll have to have a part 2 on that.
Yeah.
That was part of the book that we can, a lot of that nozzle stuff ties in, but on that, one of the biggest rewrites was on foams.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
Our world of foams in the fire service is
so what's
right now.
What's your thought on calves then?
So
do you guys have calves?
No.
Okay, so I was first introduced into calves in Phoenix that would have been like 2001. Mm-hmm. They had some brush trucks with it, and they're like, "Oh, look at this!" So we'd play with it, and it'd be like spitting out foam or not. And my background, so I got into it a little bit. The science isn't there, I think a lot of salesmen were selling stuff, mm-hmm. class A foam, which is not foam. It's a water additive. Mm-hmm. It just makes the water work a little bit better for the smoldering rate. It does nothing for fire attack, for flaming combustion, or very limited amount. I mean, and the encephaly of the water or the heat capacity carrying of it is what extinguishes fire and does the work. This other stuff helps with cleanup. So I think for a municipal company, I think it's a waste of money. We're moving parts. We're not good at maintaining our current stuff. So that's where I am on the CAF stuff. I'm not a fan. Most places that have CAF systems don't use them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if they do use them, they don't fight a lot of fire.
True.
Yeah, the foam rewrites, that's interesting stuff because we don't, we carry foam. We don't, I think it's way underutilized. We carry a lot of it.
What do you guys carry right now?
Eductors and 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we don't even carry eductors. We batch mix, we dump it in.
Oh, you do batch. We used to batch mix.
But we currently run F500 an emulsifier.
Yeah.
A real expensive Class A agent, basically.
Yep. That's what we're running, the F500.
Yeah.
It's not a foam. It's not good for deep sea pool fires.
No.
Probably not great for our alcohols, which is, you guys and us, every tanker truck going down the road has 10 to, now 15% blend of alcohol in it.
Yep.
But on just a spill fire, it's probably okay, but we're going to have some major issues on pool fires.
Yeah.
And, I mean, AFFF worked awesome.
Yep.
And it's just it's a no-go anymore. And
yeah.
But it works.
You're going to create a super fun site, basically, if you use it.
Yeah, for sure. That's what Baker was telling us, with the military and stuff, the Air Guard side of it and everything with everything, that they were doing. And then, we had to, the rest of us had to get rid of it.
It's every airport in the U.S. The ground's saturated with it, and I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And
we've had, I've been in the Air Guard for 24 years. I would say there's me in our department now that's ever actually sprayed foam. So in the military, the only pit that you can spray foam in is down at Tyndall Air Force Base in Panama City. Now they just came out with the F3 foam, but it creates a terrible blanket. It's constant coverage. You can't walk through it or anything like that because it's terrible with breakthrough. The Air Force was trying to go with the ultra high pressure foam systems on their rigs. Well, now this F3 it's incompatible with the ultra high pressure and
there's a whole bunch of misinformation on that 3F stuff. Some people are claiming they're fluorine free foam, and they're not a foam. They're a wetting agent. They're a surfactant versus the others, and everybody's trying to jump on that bandwagon, and it's a whole new line of stuff. And then the mil spec that you guys are using versus what industry's using, and all the old stuff that we were taught, our rain down, our roll on, all those things that didn't really matter with our emulsifiers, didn't really matter with our AFFF because it works so good. Now all of a sudden with these new agents, if we're using a real fluorine-free foam, really matter. And then they're plugging up our foam eductors. So now you're mid-fire attack and 60 seconds in, your foam eductor plugs up because they're gelatinous goo. There's some big issues that are going on, and we don't even know how it's affecting us yet.
Yeah, in 20 years, whatever comes out with this about the type of cancers or things that we have grown out of our body.
So, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, Dad would have training and they'd flow AFFF and I'd be down playing in the bubbles.
Yeah.
It was safe, right?
Well,
use it to clean your hands, the grease off your hands and scrub the floor.
Well, and then not just the phones, but who would have known with the PFAS stuff, even on our gear and everything too, then until that came out and how many years and, all that stuff.
What the clothes I'm wearing right now probably.
And it's not just that. All your athletic gear, your Gore-Tex.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's been the waterproof barrier for everything.
Yeah.
Your pans at your house.
Yeah.
All the Teflon.
Oh, yeah, the Teflon. Yeah, that's super good. As it's chipping off and eating it.
So that's the next evolution of some of the fire service stuff. I mean, it probably doesn't matter that much how often do we actually use it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But now they're tagging in with the lithium ion stuff, and it's another salesman's wet dream.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of trying to sell you things, because
Yeah.
They'd probably get mad at me, but I don't see any real way that any of those are effective in the form that we are going to encounter a lithium ion fire inside the car, inside that mechanism. Now, we did just run, 6 months ago in a structure fire, they were rebuilding batteries inside an apartment complex and had thousands of individual lithium ion cells. It would probably be beneficial in that circumstance. Actually get it on the cell itself, but in the car fire environment, you're not gonna play a role. You're just throwing money at that point.
Yep. And that's where
That's how the salesmen are coming out. They with an exposed lithium ion battery. Burning.
Yeah. And it's easy to sell something like, hey, look how this works. Yeah. Not like, well, let's see how it works real world. Right.
Yeah. I mean, same with the F500. I mean, I think it's a great product where it works. But once again, I think some of the sales gimmicks on how they teach it and try to get you to use it is maybe pandering to not reality.
Yeah. Okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Chip or Baker, anything else? No.
We really appreciate it, Captain.
No problem.
I'm gonna all those names you dropped though. I'm gonna have to get their numbers so I can reach out to those for a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's it's kind of cool. It's their second remote podcast that we've done, and it seems to be, as long as we got a good stable internet connection, it seems to go pretty good, which is exciting because then it allows us to reach out and have somebody like you, and and we were able to, for Baltimore County the last time and stuff, we had a battalion chief there. So I mean, we were able to stretch out allows us for our podcast to just expand it now and stuff, where we're 30 episodes, 31 episodes in, and it's kind of cool. So yeah, absolutely appreciate your time. It's been fantastic. Geeking out on the whole stuff with Shipper loves. So and we appreciate everything, your insight with all this stuff, and not doing a whole lot of research and Googling you ahead of time and seeing and stuff, but with Jones and Bartlett and stuff, and that does make me, I guess I could see maybe a little bit more now why the Fire Service Training Bureau is switching over to that line of books from the essentials, from the IFSTA manuals, not just just because, but that, if these manuals are getting rewritten for modern times with modern, and the changes and stuff like that, that could be a good thing then to move forward. And because we'll have to transition to all those next year also with the fire department and stuff. Like I said, I know at WIT
there will be some work associated with it and some growing pains. I mean, as I start talking about some methods of doing stuff that either is new or used to be taboo, of how to do it. We talk about inline pumping, where you're going intake to intake on fire trucks, and redundancy, things that were just discussed in one paragraph. Or when I start talking about hammering an 1 3/4 inch hose line, exercising the line and it not being water hammer, there's some things that the fire service that we've been doing against the books for a long time. And it was just against the books because that's how it was written. Right. Just 'cause some dude put it that way.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Awesome.
Love it.
Yep. Hey, well, that's all you guys got. Good.
Baker dropped the tones, man.
Oh, Baker's going to drop them.
All right. Hey, thank you very much. So that'll be the end of the recording, but another quick question for you. Do you teach anywhere? Do you go out and teach to other departments?
Oh, we should have put this on. Yeah, a little bit. Like everything, I have a limited amount of time. But the other day, So Jones and Bartlett, they try to change my exposure a little bit, try to get me a few different places. So they had me do a conference the other day, a conference down in Oklahoma City. It was called the Heroes Conference. It was a police, fire, and EMS conference. It's supposed to be a big deal. So they wanted a lecture over leadership.
Oh boy, here we go.
So okay, I had a few things that I wanted to get off my chest. Some things of who made me and how I kind of developed. So I built a lecture called Leadership Through Failure. So I talked about my failures, my department's failures, and how we've evolved, how it makes me who I am, and put a lot of time into it, trying to get it right, nervous as hell. And we show up down in Oklahoma City, and they're in the big convention center, and I walk in, and there's not a ton of people. And it's like, okay, no big deal. It's one thing if you're teaching peers, but when you're teaching to not as many people, maybe that you feel like you know more than them anyway, makes it a little bit easier. So now comes time to teach. They send me to a room, and there's nothing outside the room. You go to FDIC, there's a flyer outside.
Yeah.
There's an app that works for it, all these things. Well, their app wasn't working, or I wasn't on the app. There was nothing outside, and there was a grand total of one person in my room.
Oh my God.
And he was really more interested in the driver stuff. And it's like, yeah, we'll get into it. But then as it became one person, it's like, let me start. I'll do the first part of my lecture, and then we'll just talk about the book. And he goes, okay. So I get going in, and we come to a break point. He's like, no, dude, keep going. So I kept going. I gave my presentation for 3 hours to one dude.
Holy cow.
That's how big of a winner I am, that I put one person in. And then he's like, hey, I'm going to try to get you to come to my department. And it's like, okay. That was down in Oklahoma. I was a volunteer fire chief in the town right next to his town, which was Cushing, Oklahoma, where all the pipelines intersect in America.
Mm-hmm.
But, talk about an ego blow.
Yeah.
One person, but it ended up being a pretty janky conference. There was just nobody that attended it. But the other part was I wasn't on the app. They didn't put me in the app, and there was nothing outside. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. So someday, if I do more lecturing, it'll be like, now you guys are trying hard to get in here, and I couldn't beg people to come to my class.
Right.
But yeah, I think I'm supposed to be teaching at Iowa Fire School next year, maybe.
Okay.
I kind of got hooked up with some guys in the bureau there, so I don't know if that'll happen. As I put more of this, I'm trying to get something put together with Andy Succadillo with Water Thievery, of us trying to do something together. He's more of the tanker high water versus mine's a little bit more focused pump ops.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get something going with him, but yeah, I do some teaching, but a lot of times it's like, what do you want? I mean, I'm not original. I just maybe explain things different.
Yeah. So I met Chief Rubin at the NFA. Have you ever had any interest in going out there to do anything?
Well, maybe. Right now everything's about what's your credibility. It's part of that credibility is rank. I'm a captain. And I'm still kind of developing and learning who I am. Almost.
You lost me.
Thing.
It's coming back. No.
Did you guys?
When you get that battalion chief position, then you can get out to the NFA then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. For years I had all this education and a decent amount of experience, but I really kind of welcomed getting some of the gray hair because if anything, the gray hair lends more to your credibility than anything.
At least
Before I was just some young dickhead that that
Yeah.
nobody, who the hell's this guy?
Yeah.
We're not going to listen to him.
Yep.
Yeah.
As I call them out on their bullshit, and they're like, yeah.
Yep.
All righty. Well, we'll let you
Yeah.
be. Thanks again.
Thanks for your
We
time,
appreciate it.
Cap.
All right, no problem. Hey, if you got any questions, let me know. But get with me, and I'll meet you somewhere on I-29
Sounds great.
and drop off that hen.
All right. I
Awesome.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No problem. See you guys.
All right. See ya.